We are on page 126, I believe, really. Then we turned the page already.
$186?
126. This is the question many of you have been asking since the beginning.
126.
So we go to the bathroom during the day. We're back to the bathroom talk for a few more pages. We go to the bathroom during the day. How many times do we have to wash our hands when we leave the bathroom? Not in the morning. That's 3 times. So what do we have? 1 and 1, 3 and 3, alternating 3 and 3. So what is it that we do? Let's read inside. Says Rabbi David Yosef, Mikar Hadin, from the basic halakha, Dai, it's enough, Sheitol Yadav Pam Achat, that you should wash your hands once. Sit at the table, that way you're part of the chevra. Ksheyotze mibet hakiseh, when he leaves the bathroom. Achar shasat zachav, after you use it.
Second time twice.
So according to halakha, you have to wash your hands once. Once on the right hand, once on the left hand, and you're good to go. Remember, you always start with your right hand. Always people get confused. Everything in the world we do with the right
so
first.
Not up to here, you have to be the whole hand.
The whole hand. I mean, technically, you have to get your thumb in, but technically your knuckles would be enough, but your wrist is always a good
rings
place.
have to be off. You do it.
It's a good question.
Is there,
It's a good question.
For the morning also, is the ring supposed to go?
It's a good question. I was just reading. I want to tell you where I was looking. I just saw this on Shabbat. I was learning a book. I'm trying to remember which one. I just saw now. Taking off rings.
I will collect the rings.
was your wedding ring?
What book was I reading on Shabbat? Chava? What was I learning? I don't remember to tell you. It must have been something. I'm thinking of it. I believe that most people take off their rings when they do it, but that you don't have to. I'm on record, so I don't want to say something wrong, but I'll tell you what I think. We learn a lot of the laws of washing your hands and what's a chatzita, what's a interruption between the water and our hands, from the laws of a lady going to a mikvah. By a lady going to a mikvah, taking off jewelry is already a stringency. And so, by us washing our hands, it would be logical that it already... Obviously there would be a camp that would say you have to, because that's what she does. But you're already extending a stringency to something that it's not related to. You should know, in general, I have a halakha to share. The lady in the mikvah has a choice to make, and she can either go to Gan Eden or she can go to Gehenom. And the choice is leave the ladies alone. I'll tell you exactly what I mean. Why do we have a lady in the mikvah for the ladies? What's she there to do?
Kosher dip or not?
What makes a kosher dip or not? The lady, she went in the water. What would be non-kosher?
The hair?
Right, the hair. I mean, she can't tell if her hair went up or down or what. So we have a lady who checks just to see if her hair went under the water. Kasher, that's kosher. Could be a second reason for a lady being there in the mikvah. And that second reason is based on something in the Gemara that has its roots in Kabbalah. I suggest you take this very seriously. My rabbi suggests I take it seriously. When a lady comes out of the mikvah, the first person she should be someone kosher, someone good. There are many stories in the Gemara and the Zohar of a lady comes out of the mikvah and she sees a dog, or she sees a pig, or she sees a thief, or whatever it is, and their husbands would send them back to the mikvah to tovel again. It's not halakha, but it's a good thing to worry about. So it could be that when she comes out and she sees this lady, that there's an idea that she already saw that first person who is kosher. Aside from that, this lady has no job. She shouldn't be checking people, she shouldn't be looking at nails, she shouldn't be examining anybody's body, she shouldn't be telling them what the halachot are, when they make the blessing, when they don't make... I get phone calls all the time, not so much from San Diego, but from other places. Oh, the lady said... tell her you have a rabbi and you're coming to the mikvah and this is the way your husband does it, this is the way your rabbi does it. She's not a rabbi. She shouldn't be telling you halachot. She shouldn't be telling you how to cut your nails. She shouldn't be telling you what kind of nail polish you can and cannot wear in the mikvah. It's above her pay grade. So they have a choice to make. They could either make the mikvah a tzniut affair, or they can make it into a problem for people. And then many ladies have stopped going to the mikvah because of the ladies in the mikvah. And it's a problem. Nobody wants to be examined. Nobody's comfortable being naked in front of another lady. Halakha doesn't allow for someone to be naked in front of another person, even the mikvah lady. And it's a problem. It's a problem that has to be fixed. But we're learning halachot from a lady. There are a lot of things that our wives do, our mothers did, that are stringencies, and that's okay to do in a mikvah. But to learn all of them out, to washing our hands, I just saw, now it's going to bother me the whole night. Where did I just see this? In a letter from a rabbi. See, people who learn in organized fashion, they remember, like, last week I learned this book, this week I learned this book, on Mondays I do this. I'm like a
Was it
scatterbrain.
afternoon or lunchtime? Lunchtime you do Kollel, right?
No, it was something I learned on my own. It must have been like the middle of the night sometime, like late.
That's right. I never
Something.
remember anything I learned in the middle of the night.
I'll find
But
it.
why you say that is a stringency for a lady to take out jewelry? Because there's supposed to be
No
it's a-
interruption. The question is, what is an interruption? Let's say a lady never takes off her jewelry.
So it doesn't become a part of the body.
It doesn't matter what's a part of her body as much as what's something that she doesn't care about.
We're talking about Tuman.
It doesn't make a difference. The halachot of mikveh are very subjective. And so we make objective rules, but it's not necessarily true. So, yeah, there will be always an opinion that says take it off. There will be an opinion that says you can leave it on. So the fact that we take into consideration the second opinion is a stringency. That's what I mean. When the Sephardic Jews came to Israel, the Ashkenazi rabbis went against the Moroccans for one big thing. What's a custom that Moroccans and Yemenites have before the wedding? Anyone know?
Henna?
Very good. What is a henna party? No. I say the origins of it, whether it's Jewish or a Muslim tradition, I
Not
cannot.
good for me.
I can't. What?
Not good for me.
All right, I cannot vouch for this. I can't tell you what's good, what's not good, what's
From Ashkenazi perspective.
right. So the idea, what is a henna? Do you know what a henna? What do they do? It's,
Decoration.
well, it's a party, and then it's a plant that
Right.
they dye their hands with. Normally, like in their palm, they make a round imprint, and it gets stained for a few days, weeks. I don't know how long it takes for henna to come out.
1 to 2 weeks, I remember.
Yeah, 1 to 2 weeks.
We both had it.
It's like a reddish brown spot. You always see, oh, you know, they've been to a wedding in the last 2 weeks if they have a henna stain. No, like in the palm, like a little.
If you leave the wedding, you can go back in again. I'm going to go
That's
to
how
Amusement Park.
Very good. Some maybe do it on the outside of the hand. I don't know where everyone does it. In any case, the idea behind the henna, nobody knows, but the tradition of not seeing your wife or husband for a week before the wedding clearly didn't exist in the Sephardic world, because 2 days before, a day before, we were throwing a pre-wedding party together. So, some say henna stands for chala, nida, hadlakat nerot, you know, the 3 ladies mitzvahs. It's not a Hebrew word. And so it doesn't have any special meanings, but if you would like it to have meanings, then it's a no Breslov. You know, Breslov, the last 2 letters, lev is a heart. Breslov is not a Hebrew word, it's in Ukrainian. So what do you want from the fact that in Hebrew you write it with a lamed? Good for you.
The Lamed Vav.
No, the Sephardim didn't wind up in Ukraine. I'm just saying, like, certain words they try to.
Meaning and everything.
Lamed Vav said it.
So now you come to Israel, and the Ashkenazi rabbis had a big problem with this, because technically, if you have paint on your hand or something in there, you can't come to the mikveh. It's a chatzitza, it's an interruption between the water, especially if it's permanent. Let's say a tattoo. A tattoo is not a chatzitza
Because it's inside.
because it's not going to go away. It's permanent.
But it's inside the skin. So
Inside,
it
outside.
doesn't interact between water and skin.
I don't know what a tattoo does or doesn't do. Could be no more than I
Those are
do.
the poor Holocaust survivors. wouldn't be able to
I mean,
get married.
yeah, the idea.
It must be that once you do, if you didn't do it, or once you do teshuva for it, then it can't be. It's like the common sense section of Shulchan Aruch.
Right, exactly. I mean, this is a big. I remember there was a guy in yeshiva who was years about tshuva, but clearly in his high school, college years, he got a huge dragon tattoo on his arm, from his shoulder until his wrist, and he would always wear long sleeve shirts buttoned down. But every morning when he put on tefillin, he rolled the sleeve. The guy's a rabbi, he's like, what are you gonna? He went to get it removed. It hurts like very tough to get a tattoo removed. A tattoo, because it's not going away anywhere, it's not really a chatzitza. Even though you're not allowed to do a tattoo, don't get me wrong. There was a Reform rabbi who came to speak in San Diego. How do I know? Because I was wondering what was Jewish about the San Diego Film Festival. And she had like a video she showed. I don't know exactly what it was. Basically, not so much a Jewish going on for her. And she, or there's like a book festival. You know what I'm talking about? They have all these speakers that come in. Never anybody is going to talk about Judaism. Always the rabbi speaking about Islam or the exactly whatever it's going to be, but nothing Jewish. So this Reform rabbi came. She got her PhD in tattoos and Judaism.
Oh God.
What is the idea? She believes, it says in the Torah, you cannot make for yourself a tattoo, for I am Hashem your God. So listen to her. You have to understand, this is like a Gemara head. She says, it doesn't say you cannot have a tattoo. It says you cannot have a tattoo of I am Hashem your God. But if you're going to tattoo a butterfly, good for you. Or you're going to tattoo your name, good for you. Just you can't make it. And she goes around the world speaking about this. This is her. She's like the tattoo rabbi. That's her thing. And every Jewish kid in college is looking for the rabbi that's going to let them get a tattoo. So this is...
That tattoo is taboo. It's going to be an interesting conversation at the gates of Shamayim with Avraham Avinu.
I'm positive. She's going to have a nice conversation. But I'm not saying the tattoo is okay. What I'm saying is that's not a chatzitah, it's going to be there forever. The henna tattoo, though, is going to go away, like paint. And so you have to make it go away before you can go into the mikvah. And so and it's not something you can do. It's a staining plant. So what happens is that these rabbis were making problems for the Sephardic brides who were coming to go to the mikvah the night before because they had these imprints on their hand. And so the rabbis wrote a very interesting letter. It says the halakha says that what causes an interference between the water and the person is what the kapidia now, that she's kabdan. If you got your hands dirty with mud, would you eat with that?
No.
Why? It's dirty, but you don't want that on your hands.
Yeah.
But by the fact that she wants it on her hand, she put it on her hand, she's showing that it's not something that she doesn't want there. And therefore, in her mind, subjectively, she's allowed to go to the mikveh. Maybe you, who doesn't want the hand, you're waiting for it to come off your hand, so you have a problem. You have to wait till it comes off your hand. It's like when you take a dish to the mikveh. Let's say it's a metal dish and it has like a nice design on the side with paint. So do you have to scrape off the paint when you put it in the mikveh? But it's an interruption between the water and the metal.
But if you had like a price tag on it, you
Oh, but if you had a price tag, you'd have to take it off. Why?
That's temporary.
Why?
because you don't want it. You're not
More
gonna
than
eat it.
temporary, you're going to take it off. Anything you're going to take off of it, that's something that counts as a chatzitah. So what these rabbis were saying is the paint on her hand is like the paint on the pot. It will eventually scratch off or something, but she wants it there. And by her wanting it there, it allows her to go to the mikveh with it. So that's, when it comes to all the, that's why nail...
So what if she wants nail polish?
No, that can be removed, that's it.
Or makeup?
That can
Who
be-
said nail polish is not allowed? Open up Shulchan Aruch, it doesn't talk about nail polish.
What about fake
You can have
nails?
it.
Open up our rabbis and nails in the mikveh. Nails are already a stringency. They have to be cut, they have to be clean. Technically your nails in the Gemara are a big argument whether or not they need to even be in the mikveh. What are they different than hair? This is all already a discussion that you learn in the laws of Nida. But many rabbis were of the opinion that a lady coming with nail polish, she's allowed to go to the mikveh. Especially if it's a permanent kind of nail polish, it's going to be there for a month or 2 months. Or this is what we learn in yeshiva, by the way. The whole time we learn nail polish. And things we never knew about before, you learn about them for smicha. Yeah. It makes you, I remember that year, You don't want to get married. You're done. Like, we'll wait till we turn 90 and we're. But this halakha. So Chamuvadia, the Ashkenazim went crazy about it. The Ashkenazi poskim, no nail polish, not because it's prohibited. The Ashkenazi world is very conservative, and very often was more, I wouldn't say religious, but lived in a social religious bubble. And so, like, in Bnei Brak, a girl who goes with nail polish, she might as well drive at Shabbat. Like, there's no difference between the nail polish and the driving at Shabbat. And so for them, nail polish is like Hashem Yishmo. Hashem should save you from the modern things you are doing with your life. And so for them, it was a very big ideological battle. And so mikvah, of course you can't have it in the mikvah. Chacham Ovadia was stuck in an interesting situation. On one hand, he's Haredi, so he doesn't like nail polish. And on the other hand, there probably is a higher rate of Sephardic ladies trying to get into the mikvah with nail polish than Ashkenazi ladies trying to get into the mikvah with nail polish. And therefore, Chacham Ovadia put out an interesting psak. If you can't convince her to take it off, you just look the other way and let her tovel and rely on those rabbis who do. I saw Rabbi Abadi says you should never tell a lady to take off her nail polish. She can always go with nail polish. Halav Peretz didn't seem to be like that, more like Rabbi Abadi Yosef. But chatzitah is a very subjective thing. So when you wash your hands, taking off the ring, I don't remember who, I'm sorry. I just remember seeing someone now saying that it's okay to leave on a ring. I'm not looking at you, I'm looking at the bookcase. I remember. So it's enough to wash your hands once. That's what Rabbi David Yosef says. But, there's always the but. Remember the but? V'nachon, but it's proper. Lahachmir, to be strict. Litol yadav, to wash your hands. Shalosh pa'amim l'sirugin. 3 times, alternatingly. So, like in the morning. K'mo b'ntilat yadayim shachrit. Like when you wash your hands in the morning, meaning 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3. That's how a person...
It's common?
No, this is what's proper to do.
Oh, proper.
For going to the bathroom.
Yeah.
The first time going to the bathroom.
No, this is not the first. He should wash the rest of the day like the first time when he was in the bathroom.
You need a second time.
1 and 1.
1 and 1, that's what you have to do.
It doesn't say.
He doesn't have this?
It's proper.
Okay, good to know. He's the older brother. He's more wise. V'tzarich, and you need sheitol yadav mitoch revi'it mayim. You have to have at least a... Are you looking for a pen? They're always on the bookcase, never in the drawer. You need to wash your hands with a revi'it. Revi'it is a substantial amount of water. Imagine like Kiddush cup. Yeah. Use your Kiddush cup to wash your hands. see how your wife is going to like that.
I noticed I don't have enough water unless I fill it up. I seem to run out of... I don't have enough water unless I fill it up completely to the top.
Right.
In my case, I don't know how other people...
Most people are refilling it on round 3.
Yeah.
But they have in Jerusalem, they have an extra big cup. What it means is that we're using more water than we should, but it's always better more than less. Umikol makom, but do you have to wash your hands? It's a great question. With a cup. In the morning, yes, but the rest of the day, do you have to?
You just, the tap, right?
Can you use the tap or can you not?
I don't know, because
Yes,
there's
I
a cup there usually where there's a bathroom.
Right, usually there's the cup, right?
In a public
You have
bathroom,
to
no.
use your cup to figure it out.
That was funny. Did you guys get the Yiddish pun?
I say
But you can't rely on
Use your
those
cup.
who say that it's not kapala, it's just dirty hands, and just wash your hands, and that's it. Right, not kapala.
Let's read one more line. Umikol makom, but in any case, en sarich litol yadav, you don't have to wash your hands mitoch kli dafka, specifically from a cup, from a utensil. I mean, you could use the faucet. V'hamachmir, somebody who's strict, litol mitoch kli, to wash from a cup, tavo alav bracha, should have an extra blessing. So you have to only wash your hands once, but it would be better if you did it 3 times, and you don't have to use a cup. It would be better if you use the cup. That's the halakha for today. I'm less concerned about 1 and 3. In general, you only have to wash your hands once, aside from the morning. For bread, 1 and 1. You can do 3, but the halacha is 1 and 1. Kabbalah is 3 and 3. Many of our rabbis felt that when you're not in your own home and you wash more than once, you're stealing water from the host. And so you're trying to be extra holy like Kabbalah, but you're a thief, according to the most basic halacha. So it's not worth doing that. Now, I'll tell you the truth is, in my opinion, those rabbis were extra strict. Why?
Water was much more of a precious commodity.
Well, it could be water was much more of a precious commodity, but I heard this story even as recently as in Lakewood, New Jersey, with Rabbi Aaron Cutler. It could be because I think the hosts all wash their hands 3 times. Am I right or am I wrong? I wash my hands once for bread. How many times do you wash your hands for bread?
Just doing three, 'cause I-
3, right? Most of you do 3. Am I mistaken? So if you do 3, you wouldn't look at your guest, oh, how come he's washing 3 times, right? That wouldn't be a strange thing for you. Which means that when you let your guests wash your hands, you're also letting them wash 3 times, no?
Yes.
So then
You wash 3 times because of the custom that
I wash once and once. I grew up washing 3 and 3 because that's what I was told you have to do.
I thought before food,
Yeah.
twice.
Interesting.
Twice.
See, twice.
That's, yeah.
Many people have a custom to wash twice. It's like the Lithuanian custom is
I
like
never
that.
saw any other custom.
From now on, you come to my
Really?
house, it's only once.
I think the standard though on the street is 3. Once I heard someone tell me that
Use a
men
small cup.
wash 3 times and ladies wash twice. It could be that this halakha comes from an interesting place. Maran writes in the Shulchan Aruch later on that when a person comes out of the bathroom and he wants to wash his hands for bread, he should wash his hands twice. Meaning once for the bathroom and once for... It could be that was where that halakha originated. I don't know, because it's in the laws of Netilat Yadayim. I have not seen an opinion of 2 and 2, but many people have, especially among the Lithuanian community, have this custom.
I fear that's where I came from.
You should be fearful.
Yeah, it's,
You ain't Mexican?
So we're going to look here on 127. If we need a cup or not.
Yes, we need it. Who says? I say.
You want to fight it?
It's an interesting question. I mean, we're not going to go as far as to ask whether or not the faucet is considered a utensil. I told you once that Rabbi Shalom Mashash has such a letter.
Dip it into
But then I've seen some people like turn the faucet on and then off, and on and off, or something like that, rather than... yeah.
That's what I'm like.
Hilla, can you do me a favor again? The same bookshelf you were at yesterday. You see the blue books to the right? There are 2 sets of 4. There's 1 single one and 2 sets of 4. Can I have the... well, on the left-hand side, is that one... Can I have the first one from that volume and the last one from the other set? The first... No, sorry, other way around. What does it say on the spine of that book? Do you know? Shemesh Umagen, maybe? Okay, so you can have the last volume of that set and the first volume of the other set.
Left side, right side.
No, it's not the one standing alone. The first of 4. Yeah, that one. Perfect. Hello, we're going to make you the librarian soon. Thank you very much. Because that's a good question. What does the faucet count as? I think it's a good question. I don't know about you.
You mean like it's the first or something, or it's like or just like could it be as in can it be used, or is it already the first
Meaning, do you even need a cup ever?
ever?
Oh, it's so nice. It has an index. I didn't even know that. Okay. Noon. Wonderful. They just reprinted the set, so I gave my father all the ones that I collected over the year and ordered a set. Oh, look, the first one. Hillel, you are brilliant. You bought me both books that I need. This one tells me that I have to look in here.
How'd you do that, Hillel?
You are brilliant.
Really? It's rubbing off on you. That's how come it's not rubbing off on you?
They're gonna refer you to a third volume?
I hope not. Oh.
I know it.
Obviously, it's not a yes or no answer, right? Very interesting. So here's the question. This is not a new question. There's been a question before in the times of our rabbis. What if you take a reed, imagine like a half a bamboo, and you want to use it as a pipe, kind of, or even a whole bamboo that's hollow inside. You want to pour water on one side, let's say out of the house, and it should pour into the bath or something in this house. So basically, you put a pole through the wall. Nothing really impressive, no impressive plumbing, but that's what it is. The halacha is that when something is movable, it can be considered a utensil. But the moment something is attached to like the wall or to the ground, then it's no longer a utensil. Like some rabbis want to say that's the reason why like an oven doesn't have to go to the mikveh, because you can't move it whenever you want to. So thank God for that halacha, by the way. There was one rabbi, interestingly enough, he even suggested that any electronic appliance you don't have to tovel, because it doesn't work unless you plug it into the wall, and therefore it's attached to the wall. Nobody else accepted his opinion, because essentially,
It's not really an oven if it's not on, in other words.
well, that was his point, meaning
Yeah.
it's not a toaster unless it's on. So therefore, to be on, it has to be plugged into the wall, so it's part of the wall. Everyone else, even when you unplug it from the wall, it's still a toaster, you just can't use it. And essentially, they claim that you need to tovel something like that. But we rely on his opinion when it comes to bigger appliances. And so the question... Tell me a thing, imagine if your rabbi told you you have to take the refrigerator to the mikveh. So when it's on its own, this pipe, is it a kli or is it not a kli? Is it a utensil or not a utensil?
No. A pipe?
The
It's not
bamboo...
It's not
It's attached to the wall, it's not a utensil.
Right.
Like it's left in place, but it's not rocky.
It depends on what you use it for. That's
Oh,
what gives it the
okay.
status.
So it depends on what you use it for, right? Our rabbis understand that the bamboo reed, it doesn't have to be attached to the wall to work, right? So therefore, on its own, it's a utensil. And now that you attach it to the wall, so now it's not part of the wall, meaning it's its own utensil, and you can do nitilat yadayim from that bamboo pipe. Because it's a cup. It's its own utensil, and you could pour onto your hands through the bamboo pipe. Because on its own, it doesn't need the wall. So the question is the faucet the same thing like the bamboo pipe?
Plumbing is a part of the building.
Well, technically, a vessel has to be closed on three sides, doesn't it?
Not necessarily.
A
I know.
pipe is not a vessel.
You're
in
talking about the
sense-
laws of mikvah?
Like you couldn't make kiddush out of a pipe. It would just go through the bottom. Right?
Interesting. But a
You could put your
kli,
hand there or
a
use the
kli
wall.
doesn't only have to be a cup. A kli can also mean a pipe. Meaning a utensil doesn't necessarily have to be something that holds, also something that moves water.
Only the moves.
Like when it comes to the mikvah, you always have this problem. You use like half pipes and things like that, not whole pipe. Rabbinic loopholes.
I mean, they fill it
David, you got it?
like a rain gutter, you mean?
So yeah, they have like all kinds of special. They're kind of pipes, but not really pipes. They're pipes that are attached to the ground. All kinds of interesting things that are going on when it comes to the mikvah. Yeah, it's what it looks like behind the scenes in the mikvah. So I'm asking you the question: is the faucet like the bamboo pipe?
No.
No, why not? What's the difference between them?
It's part of the building.
So is the bamboo pipe. You're now attaching to the wall.
You pull the
It's
faucet
not,
out.
it's not a faucet unless it's attached.
Oh, here? It's not a faucet unless it's attached to the house.
Yeah.
And therefore, on its own, it's not a kli. And so when does it become a kli? Once it's already part of the house. But by definition, a vessel can't be something
It's attached.
that's attached to the house.
Yeah.
And that's what Rabbi Mashash is trying to say. You might have thought that your faucet is like the bamboo pipe, but it's not. It's something completely separate because it only works once it's attached.
So therefore you need a cup.
Right, but he's not done. That was the beginning of the letter. The end of the letter. Okay, let's just leave it that he doesn't believe. I quoted him before as saying that he thought the faucet is a pipe, is a cup. It's not. I'm corrected.
We don't have it.
He says a few interesting
We don't have
things.
a problem with bamboo.
We don't have problem with that. If you would stick a bamboo thing through your wall, we could talk about whether or not. whether or
With
not
a bamboo stick, somebody's supposed to pour water
through it.
There's
right.
no
Pressure.
They're saying anyways it would be coming through a kli.
Yeah,
Interesting.
using natural force.
He does mention what you said. That there are certain shapes that because they're not able to hold something, they're not actually kilim. Okay. We just went a little bit out of the arena, but
They clarify.
so now that we know this, that the faucet is not what's going to count as a cup, the question here is, can I use the faucet to wash my hands? Not because the question is whether or not the faucet is a kli, but rather
It's okay.
whether or not I need a kli in the first place. Remember we said that in the morning you can't dip your hands in the river because you need a cup. But maybe here by washing your hands after the bathroom you could because you don't need a cup anymore. So let's see this paragraph on 127. It's the big bottom paragraph.
7?
Yeah, 127. No, we didn't go past there.
By itself. At the bottom?
Yeah.
Ulam?
Ulam. You see the word ulam?
Inyad. Ulam itself.
Okay, we have hot drinks. If anyone wants coffee, you're welcome to make yourself a cup. Ulam, but
Is it really a cup though?
it's a question. Is it bamboo? And are you going to attach it to my wall?
You ever try to make coffee with bamboo?
Probably tastes good. Bamboo shoots.
Ulam, but linyan, in the question of im tzarich netila bekli, if you even need to wash your hands with a cup. I'm going to use the word cup interchangeably, but I don't like the word vessel so much. So, a cup, but it means any kind of utensil, really. Hine ha'Elia Rabbah, the Elia Rabbah katav in the name of the Maharach HaKohen, Delo bainin kli, that you don't need a cup. V'chein katav b'shmo Maran HaChida Machzik Bracha, and the Chida, Rabbi Chaim Yosef David Azulai, also writes that you don't need a vessel for Nitilat Yadayim. ואף למה שסיים מרן החידה שם וחזינה לרבנן קשישי שרחצו ג' פעמים, said even though that which the Chida says that he saw the old Sephardic rabbis that they washed their hands 3 times, he didn't say that they washed their hands 3 times with a cup, just that they washed their hands 3 times, meaning they were strict, they didn't just wash their hands once. Yesh lomar, you should say דהיינו דווקא לעניין 3 פעמים ולא לעניין כלי. They were only talking about the washing 3 times, not about using a cup. Ufassefer Ben Ish Chai katav, and the Ben Ish Chai writes, she'en tzarich netila letoch kli. Do you remember this halacha? That in the morning the Kabbalists say you shouldn't just wash from a cup, but you should also wash. Yeah, that was true if it was dirty. You're right; they're not far off. But you should wash into a utensil. Remember the Zohar says that there's a higher cup and a lower cup, and
Right.
remember we were learning that the higher one gives to the lower one.
Yeah, and
So-
take out the water.
It's probably people just have, per se, sinks. They put like a bowl. up
Very
in
good.
the
They were
cup.
washing on the dirt, on the floor. And so he says, the Ben Ish Chai says, you don't have to have a lower vessel to accept the water.
The daytime water.
Yeah, the daytime
The morning
water.
yes.
Exactly. The morning we're not talking about, the afternoon now, or during the day. אבל צריך להיזהר, but should be careful, ליטול ג' פעמים לסירוגין, to wash 3 times alternatingly, וגם שיטול שיעור רביעית, and to wash enough water of a רביעית. And מוכח, so you see from there, להדיה, דווקא אלו בעינן, אבל כלי לא בעינן. The Ben Ish Chai didn't mention anything about a cup again. So we see even the Kabbalists are saying you have to wash 3 times, but they're not telling you to wash 3 times with a kli. So maybe you could argue, well, the Ben Ish Chai obviously assumes you're going to be using a cup. What else would he be using? The Ben Ish Chai has a continuation to his book, Ben Ish Chai. It's called Od Yosef Chai. Yosef is still alive. And in there he writes, She'en tzarich kli b'ntilat yadayim. That you don't need a cup. I'm skipping a few lines. Maran, that also seems to be his opinion. Maran doesn't seem to say that you need a cup.
They may not have a cup those days.
Rama also says you don't need a cup for washing your hands for the bathroom. But for me, that should be enough. Maran, the Rama, we're good to go. Like, what do we need anybody else for?
But in time of
Why do you keep
Rama,
buying them?
without a vessel, how did they do it?
You stick your hands in the
Just
river.
dip in the
Yeah.
river?
Is it what?
Just dip your
Go
hands
to the
in
river?
somewhere.
You know, we have an interesting question. Like when this is more, you're hiking or you're out camping or you're in your car, you want to eat food or something. Do you need a cup to wash your hands, or can you go over to a water fountain, or how does it work? I once saw in a Jamaica store, I don't know if Hatikva carries this, but in Baltimore, I saw they had an inflatable washing cup.
Oh,
It folds up to be in a tiny Ziploc bag, but you take it out, a few blows in it, and you have a washing cup for Netilat Yadayim.
This is the thing you're missing.
There's a famous rabbi who was once asked a question by this non-observant guy. He said, you know why I hate Jews and our religion? I said, why? He said, because the rabbis, all they want is money. They'll sell everything. You know, there was a certain rabbi that he sold dollars that he put in a rabbi's grave, and he sold that dollar for $100, every dollar that went in the rabbi's grave. And so this rabbi said, you know, there's an interesting thing. It was an Israeli soccer player. His name was Spiegler, I don't know his name. They sold his shoes for some $20,000. He said this guy ran in these shoes. He sweated in these shoes. He said they smell bad. They're dirty. They're ruined. You can't wear them. He said, but someone paid $20,000 for it. He says, what's the moral of the story? It's not just the rabbi. He says Jews will sell anything for money. Yeah, so that's just part of what we do. So if someone came up with an idea to make an inflatable washing cup, clearly there's enough parnassa going around to.
it's not available in San Diego.
Not maybe next week I think we'll have
Well,
a.
they have the inflatable sukkah.
Yeah, that I saw.
You take those along with you to pack in your bag and you
So
travel.
done.
Oh, time to wash.
Oh, Hashem.
New business.
So the cup is inflated.
The price is also inflated.
V'chol zeh, and all of this, shelo k'mo shekatav harav hagaon Rabbi Shlomo Amar. It's not like what Rabbi Shlomo Amar, the chief rabbi of Yerushalayim today, wrote that you need a cup.
He did write that. Huh?
Yeah. And then he says, V'ra'iti la'adoni avi mori v'ribi. I saw my father, my master, my teacher, Maran HaRishon LeZion, this chief rabbi. Who is this? Rabbi. He's talking about his father. Through my eyes I saw she'af al pi shemakpid ito shalosh pa'amim l'sirugin, that he washes his hands 3 times after the bathroom. Eno makpid kalal itoch mitoch kli. He never cared to wash it from a cup. He said, I saw Chamavardi myself. He says, this is that. V'chen shamati mipiv, and I heard from his mouth, shesh na'akel b'zeh, that you should be lenient about it. V'chen katav Rabbi Meir Mazuz, and also Rabbi Meir Mazuz said the same thing, the rabbi of Bnei Brak. V'chen nahag Aviv, the Ish Matzliach, also did the same thing.
If you use a cup, you spend more, less more water.
I don't know. Could be not. But essentially you're saying there are many rabbis here who are saying you don't need to use a cup after you go to the bathroom. I don't remember what I saw how Peretz do. I know he washes once, that's for sure. I don't remember if I saw him once washing with a cup,
Washing inside
and I
the
saw him once without a cup. I don't remember if it was for bread or after the bathroom, or I don't remember when, but I could ask him.
But do you have to open and close, or do you just have to stick your hand?
It's a good question. Those who open and close are trying to use the opinion that the faucet is a cup. So they're pouring once and twice and 3 times. Technically, what would be the difference in leaving it on and sticking it in the river? Those who say you don't need a cup, you don't have to open and close the...
No, the river you have to go down to do it with the faucet. It comes down on your hands.
Okay, but what I'm saying is the water is continuous. You don't have to... Okay, stop the river. No, sorry. Stop the river.
You can use a river?
You could use a river. If you have one next to your house, you can definitely use a river. I mean, all you need is water, enough water, and some opinions once, some opinions 3 times, but you don't need a cup. And that's why when you see today Jews, they do 3 times with a cup, you see how far removed we are from the halakha. Which is okay. It's okay to be strict. We're finding ourselves much farther away from what was once a standard. It could be the Rambam would sit here and he would say, what are you guys even talking about? You wasted the last 45 minutes talking about with a cup, without a cup, 3 times. Who ever washed with a cup and who did it more than once? I mean, he would have never heard of such a discussion. It could be. Look, the sources here,
now.
none of these sources are older than 500 years ago.
What about in the morning you wake up and you're not in the bathroom, you do 3 times, and then when you do go to the bathroom, it seems like from the sanitary, from what the parts of the body, it should be more than 3 times.
You would have to wash your hands first before you do Netilat Yadayim, like a cleansing wash. The Netilat Yadayim is not just...
For cleanliness.
So this is after you've washed your hands and you're
Right.
clean. Now you do it.
Right, that's a
We
good
came
point,
to
what
the
David is
conclusion
saying.
here, right, that we use soap, wake up, use soap, then go say the bracha, and then immediately you do 3 times.
You wake up, you wash your hands 3 times. You go to the bathroom, you use soap and wash it again 3 times.
Yeah.
Yes.
You don't get a
Took what?
Alright, so how many times are you washing your hands?
Sometimes. Always 3.
Depends who you ask. I personally always do 1, except for in the morning. I saw the Halevy Rabbi after the bathroom washing his hands with a cup 4 times. Why 4 times?
Just in case.
My wife also. She in the morning washes 4 times.
4 times.
I asked her why. It's a Hasidic custom. Listen to this one, my friends. I went to research the custom. Because I know it's not a Hasidic custom. Because I've seen the custom before. But I looked for a Hasidic source for it. And I couldn't find a Hasidic source for it. The source that I knew of, and I told my wife, no, it can't be, we don't know, God forbid. You're supposed to wash your hands 3 times in the morning. If you remember, we learned about the 4-time opinion in the morning. It was the Vilna Gaon's opinion.
It's not a Hasidic custom, it is not. My parents did, we have parents did it.
Oh.
It came like that.
And so then it became a Hasidic custom. The Vilna Gaon says you do the 4th time just in case, meaning 3 times to wash your hands, 4th time to wash away all the dirty water that's left on your hands.
Oh, dirty water.
Then you can do it 5th time, right? So just in case.
Or, like I said one time, if it's a metal cup, hold it with a towel when you wash
Right, I
it.
mean,
You get too much from the cup, the metal cup.
We have a towels, if you want towels in the kitchen. This was the Vilna Gaon's opinion.
Yeah, it couldn't be Hasidic. True.
It couldn't be a
It's
Hasidic.
supposed to be something else. No?
I'm sure they're somewhere else. Do you know that on the Vilna Gaon's tombstone it says, Harav HaChasid?
Really?
Yeah, because they didn't mean Chasid was a Chassid, they meant he was pious. Today, everyone who graduates a Hasidic yeshiva, they call him Harav HaChasid. He used to have to be the Vilna Gaon to be called a Chassid. Today it's like anybody can get the title. Just have to buy a special kind of hat. there's no limit to how many times. Like Moshe said, maybe you'll start watching 5 times. Maybe you'll start watching 20 times. Halachot are a good thing to.
It has to be pious.
My suggestion is dry those pages, but right now, then just
It ran.
press it down so his pages don't stay wrinkled. Here, give me the top of your book. Give me your book. No, that one. Yeah. Give me a towel, please. It's not the first time it's happened.
Yeshivish technique.
Now don't dry it anymore because it'll wear away the page. But you don't want it to be wavy.
Yeah.
So,
Just that page.
oh look, they asked. You asked a question about up to where you wash, or you asked?
I did.
You asked. Okay. So this is on the next page, 128. It's in brackets because it's part of the previous page. See the brackets under the 2 lines? V'le'inyan, regarding ad hechan notel yadav, until where you wash your hands. Ayin el siman daled, look up in siman daled. Vu adin li'antiat yadayim shetzem beit hakiseh. It's the same thing that I said there, is what I would say over here. So let's look back. Siman daled. Daled 8 Yud Chet. So it's on page. On page 66.
I think it's Yud
Yud-Chet, you see? So technically you need to wash your hands until your wrist, like I said. But if you don't have enough water, you can do it until the end of your knuckles. Alright, so wrist is where we wash our hands. You need to be generous with the water. In general, the Mekubalim say that when you wash with more water, it's a shefa of parnasah. You get more livelihood, so
Right.
don't be so worried about the water.
The thing, it's interesting though that on fast days you're only washing your fingers, but
Just Yom Kippur.
not Tisha B'Av.
And Shabbat, I guess, if you want to be strict.
I want to be strict.
So then those 2. But that only till your knuckles. Meaning, what we're saying is then we don't do the ideal, we just do the necessary. I wish we were strict about other halachot. Tisha B'Av, I always find people are strict and not saying hello. There's a halakha, you're not allowed to say hello to people on Tisha B'Av. It's a sad day, so you don't greet people. Somehow, whenever you say, oh, hello, shh, don't say hello.
Well, I mean, if it's in the middle of Shemona Esrei,
It's like, you're strict the whole year, you don't answer Shabbat Shalom to anybody. Tisha B'Av, you don't have to be so strict. Be lenient. It's only a rabbinic prohibition. Certain things I wish we were not, like cleanliness. Just sometimes I want, not learning Torah on Tisha B'Av. No, today you can't learn Torah. You don't learn Torah the whole year. What are you today? What are you talking about? You don't learn Torah. Like, stop. There's certain halachot that are just. I wonder why today are you so strict about them? Or like the guy on the fast day, he wakes up, I need my cup of coffee, but you don't drink coffee every day. So why today you need your coffee? Because today is the fast day. Today they told you no, so you have to. Halav Peretz, I went to his house on Tisha B'Av, and he was learning normal Torah, not a Tisha B'Av stuff or whatever it was. And I asked him, Halav Peretz, Shulchan Aruch says you can't learn Torah today. He looked at me. I'll never forget. He said, when I go up to HaShamayim after 120 years, I want to see the Beit Din Shel Ma'ala, the heavenly court, punish me for learning Torah. And I looked at him and I said, that's an interesting way to look at it. But he's very, he told me he's not afraid. He's going to go 120, they're going to tell him it's a problem, and he'll say, tell me why it's a problem to learn Torah. Said he's willing to fight with them. It's good to be behind brave people. Just now I was going to flying back from Israel, so I was behind I was in line for United. United had 2 flights to leave Israel at night. one to Newark, and one to Ukraine, to Kiev.
You could have gone to Uman.
So all the guys going to Kiev are on their way to Uman. I didn't know. I know like Rosh Hashanah people go to Uman. I didn't know Shavuot people go to Uman, but they told me this is like the highest time of the year. So they come. How do you know that people are going to Uman? I heard them from outside of the terminal. There are bongo drums and guitars and shofars, and the whole thing was like, like they're in line waiting to get their bags checked, but they're partying away. So I was talking to one of the guys, and I go to Uman and this. He said, "Yeah, Rabbi Nachman promised he's going to pull us out of hell by our peot."
Yeah, that's why they have.
That's why they have long peot. It's still going to hurt. He didn't tell them how much it's going to hurt. It's a long way from Gehenom all the way to HaShamayim. But okay, listen, they don't tell you what happens once you get to Gan Eden. The Gemara says that at the entrance of Gan Eden sits Avraham Avinu, and he chooses who enters and who exits. And so, with all due respect to Rabbi Nachman, he can get you to the gates, but Avraham Avinu is going to have to let you in. So, who's going to outweigh who? Rabbi Nachman or Avraham Avinu? So my suggestion was that they should go to Hebron and pray by Avraham Avinu's grave. That way he might not take them out of Gehenom, but once they get to the gates, he's going to let them in.
How'd that go over?
It didn't go over well.
No.
It's not in general. I'm not talking about any specific movement. Anyone who idolizes one specific rabbi, he's our rabbi, the only rabbi, the one. You're going to get yourself in big trouble.
You should have asked them if they knew all of Shas. Rabbi Nachman knew one.
Rabbi Nachman was a tough learner, very demanding of his Hasidim. But in general, it's a dangerous thing when one person becomes the
Boss.
He's the only rabbi. So we only learn our rabbi's Torah. We only learn our approach. We only study our thing. It's the Sanza Rebbe. Once I was talking to our parents, "Oh, Rabbi, you're our rabbi." And he looked at me, said, "Have you heard of the Sanza Rebbe?" I said, "Sure, Rav Chaim of Sanz." Rav Chaim of Sanz is very well liked in the Sephardic community, because he was a Hasidic Rebbe who wrote books of halakha, like the first Lubavitch Rebbe. Both of them were very well accepted in the Sephardic world because they proved their way in the halachic realm. And he said, anybody who tells me that he has one Rebbe, I will remove him personally from this world and from the next world. That's what he said. And he was a Hasidic Rebbe. He said, never tells me, I only have one Rebbe. You don't have anybody else. You don't go to... When I brought the Kalev Rebbe here to San Diego, there were people who wouldn't go see the Rebbe. We have only one Rebbe, we don't go to other Rebbes. It's foolish people. It never was like that in Jewish history. You have another tzaddik comes, so go get a bracha. You're not going to lose out by going to another tzaddik for a bracha. This whole idea of only my rabbi, only study my rabbi, it's a silly notion. It's not Jewish in its origin.
Yeah, Rabbi Abba Chatzor went to everyone. He was a Chabad.
That's the way it should be. In the old school Hasidic stories, even them who are obsessed with their rebbes. But you find Rav Levi Yitzchak went to Rav Baruch of Mishbush, and Rav Zusha and Rav Elimelech were brothers, and they went to each other. But nobody stayed in their own little, 4 cubits, and this is who I. It's a mistake. And I'll tell you, when you only view the world from one perspective, you will inevitably get stuck somewhere. I'll tell you, for me, the biggest inspiration of how to look at the world from different angles is the Lubavitcher Rebbe. If you've ever read the writings of the Lubavitcher Rebbe, his sources are... You wonder sometimes when a person had so much time to learn so much. Because his sources are from all over the place. A little bit he reminds me of Rabbi Vadi Yosef. In a different style.
And then you correct him so many times.
The Rebbe would... If you look at his sichot, from this source, and from that source, and from this angle, and from that angle, and from that... He even quotes Rabbi Vadi Yosef inside of his sources. I mean, he was current with the current Jewish literature of his time. And then you wonder...
And the scientific literature.
Also, as well. I'm talking specifically from a Torah perspective. I mean, he wasn't just quoting the 6 Chabad Rebbes who came before him.
But
If he was, his thoughts would be very limited.
But can you give that over to your Hasidim your students, and should you be giving that ability as much as possible? That
The
openness,
question-
that wide scholarship.
The question is can you do it? Not should you, but can you?
Or you
Is it
encourage
possible for somebody to give themselves to somebody else? I don't think so. I think that somebody great can only give parts of themselves to other people. And certain people will accept different parts of that person. And that's what's happened over time. You find that... I told you this before, Rav Soloveitchik. Rav Soloveitchik grew up, even though he was a brisker, from a brisk Lithuanian house, no nonsense, no chassidut, no Kabbalah, no... They just studied Talmud in Brisk. Sometimes I wonder, like, they even know Tanakh, they just study Gemara. That's what they do. That's it. And when he was a kid, his father sent him to Chabad Cheder. So he used to study Tanya. And when he became the Rosh Yeshiva in Yeshiva University, so he used to give a Talmud class that was standing room only. It was like the most popular shiur in the New York area to come study Talmud. And so he once decided, listen, I have to teach them more than just Talmud. I'll give a Chassidut class. And he started teaching the book Likutei Torah, Torah Or, of the first Lubavitcher Rebbe,
Great.
on the Chumash. And nobody showed up. Nobody came. And when Rav Herschel Schachter came, he was a student, he showed up to the class. Probably showed up to every class. Rav Soloveitchik said, they want my mind, but they don't want my heart. And you'll find that. You'll find that different people were able to walk away with different elements of their teachers or their leaders, but not the whole picture. So I don't know that even if he wanted to, he would have been able to pass that off. Any leader wouldn't be able to.
But you set an example in terms of wide scholarship. It's like, the example is, well, my Rebbe, my teacher, to learn from here, and there, so I should also be open and different sources.
So they'll say he was able to. He was greater than you. You have to limit yourself to what we know. I'll tell you where I saw this is in...
How can you grow then?
You can't. But the idea is that you're not supposed to grow. You're just supposed to know what there is to know.
But that's against human nature.
Rabbi Avad Yosef is a great example.
Why should you grow?
But then that's very dangerous because then you're
You
stuck.
became
And then
chassid at your bar mitzvah. When you got a hat, you already chassid. So
but
where-
you see, I know you're kidding, but you see the problem. It's that you stop.
I'll tell you,
when
let's-
stop growing,
let's-
you're not a chassid.
I feel more comfortable blaming the Sfaradim. So, Rabbi Avad Yosef, he was, if you talk about sources, there's a saying in the Zohar, Kol raz lo anisle. Every secret, there was no secret he didn't know. Chacham Ovadia, there was no Jewish stone left unturned. When he quotes books, I had a rabbi in Baltimore. I saw him he had all of Rabbi Avad Yosef's books in his house.
Really?
So I'm very impressed. You're the most Lithuanian rabbi I've ever known in my life. What are you doing with this Sephardic rabbi's books? I said, do you follow Chacham Ovadia's halachot? I said, no, why would I do that? I said, so why do you have his books? What he told me? He said, I use them as an encyclopedia. So what do you mean? He said, I look up, let's say I'm teaching the laws of Chanukah, so I look up Rabbi Avad Yosef and Chanukah, and I see all the sources he quotes, and if he doesn't quote a source, it's only because it doesn't exist. I remember once in a class with Rabbi Rosenbaum. Somebody asked him a question on a Mishnah on Sanhedrin. And he mentioned one of Rabbi Avad Yosef's opinions, which is it's a rare thing to find in yeshiva. So it's, but there's a different Mishnah somewhere else that argues with Rabbi Avad Yosef. And Rabbi Rosenbaum looked at him and said, do you think that Rabbi Avad Yosef didn't know that Mishnah you just quoted? Like there was a certain, he knew from everywhere, everything, but his students only study his writings, only his Torah, only his son's Torah. And so you find limited again, you'll find the next generation of rabbis from him are not as broad. You see this with Rav Kook. Rav Kook met the 6th Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak Schneerson. He came to Israel. Who was Rav Yosef Yitzchak's father? The 5th Lubavitcher Rebbe? No. Well, I know more about Chabad than you do. The Rebbe Rashab. The Rebbe Rashab. And Rav Yosef Yitzchak came to him, to Rav Kook. He met him in Israel. And he spoke with Rav Kook. And he came out of Rav Kook's house and he told his Hasidim, I've never met a man who knows my father's writings better than I do. Rav Kook is not a Chabad Chassid. But in his broadness, all of Chabad Chassidut he studied. Because it's a must. You must know that to know the entire Jewish picture. Rav Kook's son writes to him and says, Father, I want to learn Chassidut. Where should I start? He said, only learn Chassidut that likes Israel, that likes the land of Israel. So he said, okay, which Chassidut is all about Israel? And so he wrote back. He wrote
The other way though.
he wrote back the writings of Rabbi Nachman of Breslov. And so Rav Tzvi Yehuda asked his father, so how can I begin to learn, like where should I start? He wrote a lot. And Rav Kook said, you can't start. Because you cannot study the writings of Rabbi Nachman of Breslov until you are able to say over the entire Torah from beginning to end, backwards and forwards. So that if you learn his Chassidut before that, you'll become confused.
It's very powerful stuff.
Clearly though, Rav Kook learned Rabbi Nachman. So what does it tell you about Rav Kook? He had to have known the Torah backwards and forwards. But you'll find that Rav Kook's students, especially as the generations are going on, they only stay in the camp of Rav Kook. They only know Rav Kook's approach. They only study Rav Kook's approach. So what did we gain from that? We have great people that
Transcend limits.
and their students who are not able to do that. Don't blame them. Not everyone can fly. That's why he was the leader and they were the students.
But somehow you have to be challenged in order to grow.
Sure.
If you just accept a brand name, it's like you can learn more within a limitation, but it doesn't challenge you as much.
And you're also not as... this is why they have trouble accepting and loving Jews of other types.
Well, because you don't have that... Both of these things you don't have. You don't grow... But then, see, that's what Moshe Chaim was telling you. Well, you don't need to grow. You just need to know what it is that you need to know. You don't need to know everything. And then you have this problem of, I don't understand where the other person's coming from. Because I've never learned that approach to Torah before. It's a problem. The only way to fix it is to learn from everywhere. To learn, you have to look at your library at home. You should have a library at home. Should, you must. Even if it's one bookcase, you have to have a library at home. And to say, so what genre are my books from? Are they all the same? Are they all from the same kind of people? Are they all from the same printing press? Or do I have a different flavor? Do I have a little bit from everywhere? Am I well read when it comes to other people's... Have you learned the books of the Satmar Rebbe? I spent months of my life studying Satmar Chassidut. I learned the Satmar Rebbe's book. And against the state of Israel, and against the Hebrew language, from cover to cover.
What did you find?
Didn't understand one thing.
Rabbi, they're building a shul. Just cut them.
I'll tell you the truth. You find a brilliant Talmid Chacham in those pages, brilliant Torah scholar. A passion that you don't find anywhere else. Passionate. Like, you read his words and you're convinced, like, this is the only way that's true. And they're not coherent. He had an agenda. And in his agenda, he needed to reach a certain point. And he would use, it was like grasping at straws.
Now he comes to the conclusion and then find the logic.
Right.
Yeah.
And many people are like that, not just the Satmar Rebbe. And God forbid, I'm not saying anything bad about him. But his opinion was the state of Israel is evil. And so now what sources can I offer you to prove that point? His conclusion was that Hebrew is not the same language the Torah is written in.
So,
What?
so what?
Yiddish.
So it's a forbidden language to speak.
Moshe spoke Yiddish.
I heard a recording from a Satmar classroom. My wife, she translated it for me.
With Yiddish?
The teacher was giving over the story of Purim.
Who else?
Mordechai understood what Bigtan and Teresh were saying. Remember the two guys outside of the palace? Why did he understand?
Because he could speak Farsi.
Because he was from the Sanhedrin. He spoke many languages. And so it's funny because it's in Yiddish. Like, he said he spoke, how do you say Spanish in Yiddish? Sfardish. Yeah. How do you say Farsi in Yiddish?
Fardish.
Spoke Farsish. Yeah. Said he spoke English. Said he spoke French. Said he spoke Chinese-ish. I don't know how he said it, but
Chinglish.
he said there was one language that Mordechai didn't speak. And that was Ivris. It was Hebrew.
How did you find out?
He said he didn't speak it.
He was there.
Because that is an evil language of the Zionists. I'm thinking about it. What language is Megillat Esther written in? In Farsish? Like, what language is it from? People, they was grasping at straws to differentiate between the holy tongue, Lashon HaKodesh, and the Hebrew language, which was just a little bit modernized version of it. But you have to learn it. How could you have an opinion on Satmar if you never studied their books? You can't. No, you can have an opinion, just not an educated opinion.
But he wrote in Ivrit, right? He didn't write in
He didn't write it in Yiddish, he wrote it in Lashon HaKodesh. When they taught my wife Hebrew, my wife reads, writes, translates a perfect Hebrew. Her accent she picked up in Israel. But in school, they taught her how to speak with oi, with I mean, like, because God forbid you would say ta, or you would say oh, or you would say, I mean, like...
Was it like Hungarian, like Elokaini?
No, they don't speak that kind. They're like Chabad. Chabad and my wife's Chassidut are both Russian. And so they don't speak in the Hungarian, Galicianer kind of dialect. You have to learn a lot, read a lot, think a lot outside of our own boxes. Don't get confused though, you have to have a derech also, you have to know this is the way I do things. Rav Dessler said something very powerful. I heard this from Rav Peretz. Rav Peretz is a student of Rabbi Dessler. Rav Eliyav Dessler, the Michtav B'nai, Strive for Truth, do you know this book? Yeah, you're familiar with it? So Rav Peretz was in Rav Dessler's class. The class was in Yiddish. He didn't understand a word. But he had a guy next to him who translated everything for him. Rav Dessler used to say that when you engage in philosophical or hashkafic discussions with people, you have to have an open mind to talk, but you have to know this is my way, this is my derech. You can go read the Satmar Rebbe's books, but you have to know in advance that what it is that you believe, so that you can be aware, you can be familiar, but you don't get swayed. You're allowed to do that. It's not so democratic to say, like, normally you're supposed to go everything with an open mind. You get confused. There are some things you shouldn't read, some things you shouldn't learn, some things you should wait until later to read them. Let's say the Natura Karta. The Natura Karta, they're not a legitimate group of Jews. I mean, they're Jews, but their philosophy is not a Jewish philosophy. They don't have rabbis. They had one rabbi. Do you know what his name was?
Oh, I forgot.
The founder of the Natura Karta.
I've seen it
They're
mentioned.
not so widely read.
That's a widely read. Rav Amram Bloy. Blau.
Bloy.
But they call him
That's
Bloy.
Boy.
Bloy. He was very good friends with Rav Peretz.
Oh, come on.
Sure.
Small.
Rav Peretz, I told you once a story about Rav Peretz. He was invited to the Natura Karta wedding. Probably back like in the 60s or 70s. And Rav Peretz went to the wedding. And the loudspeaker, they have this custom in certain communities, like, oh, we're calling up the groom, he's holy like Moshe Rabbeinu, he's wise like Shlomo HaMelech, he's this like Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, they have like a whole thing, they say, he's a tzaddik like the Baal Shem Tov, and they call him up. The guy is maybe 17 years old, doesn't know how to, pay his rent, whatever it is that he needs to do. And Rav Peretz was so angry. So he was he grabs the microphone. It's a sheker! It's a lie! You can't say such thing. He's not like Moshe Rabbeinu. How can you say that? He said Moshe Rabbeinu was one of a kind. He said, and holy, it's the wise like Shlomo HaMelech. He said, are you embarrassing Shlomo HaMelech? It's at the wedding. It's under the chuppah.
I wish I could see that.
So they come and they took away Rabbi Peretz. I saw, I'll tell you why I believe the story. Rabbi Peretz did the same thing that I saw at his mother's funeral. One of the rabbis was mourning eulogizing his mother, and said she was holy like Dvorah the prophetess. Harav Peretz stood up, took the microphone, and asked him to sit down. He said, "Don't lie about my mother. She was holy like she was holy. Dvorah was a different level of holy. And my mother is now in the world of truth, of peace, and over there she doesn't need your lies." That's what he said. He asked the man to sit down. I believe it. I believe the story. So they took him aside. They said, "Rabbi Peretz, relax at the wedding. This is our custom. This is what we do." And Rabbi Peretz left the wedding, and he never went back to the Neturei Karta event. And when he was asked why, he said, "Because you told me it's your custom to be liars and cheaters."
And people think you're outspoken.
Yeah, look at that. And people say, "Oh, maybe I should be politically correct." I don't stand a chance of being politically correct. So, Harav Peretz was on a bus. Yom HaZikaron, probably like 1965. I don't know what to tell you when it was. With Rav Amram Beloy. And Yom HaZikaron, the siren goes off. Everyone stands up and has a moment of silence for the soldiers. Everybody stood up. Harav Peretz stood up. And Rav Amram Beloy sits down. Because he's a Neturei Karta. He don't stand up for these soldiers. Harav Peretz looked at him and said, "What's going to happen if you stand up?" He said, "I don't believe in this idol worship." So Harav Peretz says, "You don't have a choice." And he takes Rav Beloy, he pulls him out of his chair. And the whole time the siren was on, he was holding him by his arms, holding him up, and then he put him down in his chair. He said, "So you stood up for one siren on Yom HaZikaron." I said, "Chilul Hashem, what are you sitting down in the middle of a siren for?" So that's our history with the Neturei Karta. Yeah, but you see, Rav Amram Beloy, he could have a friend like Rabbi Peretz. His students can have a friend like Rabbi Peretz. Because even he in his extremism and his fanaticism was at a certain place where when Rav Amram Beloy passed away, Satmar excommunicated Neturei Karta. Because they no longer had a leader. Neturei Karta. They know, even though their opinions might sound similar, it says we follow our Rebbes. Our Rebbes told you don't have who's your opinion, who are you like. Some people you have to stay away from. There's some.
I don't think someone would take a picture kissing Ahmadinejad.
No, they wouldn't. That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
That was when they put them in Cherem, by the way. When they went to Iran. So B'ezrat Hashem, Hashem should guide us. You should always ask Hashem. When you get a new book, when you see a new book, when you buy, look, is this something that I need in my house? Something that I don't need in my house? This is the kind of thing that I want my children to have on their bookshelf. I'm allowed to search other areas, but it should be within the boundaries of what is normal, what is sane, and what is hashkafically and halachically correct. I will be out of town starting on Sunday. B'ezrat Hashem. I'm coming back the following Wednesday, Thursday. I don't remember the date, but I will be in touch the whole time. I'm going there to be with my wife. She's in school the whole day, so I'm going to be there working. So if you want to call me, text me, email me, I'm in touch with you just like as if I'm here.
When do you get back? When do?
The following Wednesday or Thursday. I'll be here I'm leaving this Sunday for a week and a half, but I'm coming back for the next Shabbat. And anybody who wants this Shabbat schedule is normal, 6:30 at night, 9 o'clock in the morning. If there's anything I could do for you before I go, please feel free to let me know. I want you to have a beautiful evening. Thank you for the call is a full house again. It feels like we're all back together. And after, right when I come back, we'll be studying from this book of the Guide to Serving God for the first 15-20 minutes before we start. And the next class, I'm going to tell you right now. Let me just save this recording.